Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and in this video I'm taking a look at the Skyjacker 2.5-inch dual rate long travel suspension lift kit with 1.5-inch rear coil springs and Black Max shocks, fitting 2020 and newer Jeep Gladiator JTs, excluding the Launch Edition, Mojave, and Rubicon models. If you're looking to get a lift on your JT or fit some larger wheels and tires, this kit from Skyjacker gives you a pretty significant lift, along with new shocks and new springs to make sure that your truck can handle whatever you can throw at it. And it's going to do all this for a pretty affordable price too. So let's cut right to it. This kit is going to give you 2.5 inches of lift in the front end and 1.5 inches of lift in the rear. So it's also going to function as a leveling kit, bringing the stance of your JT up and also evening it out in the process. This extra height will give you the flexibility to fit up to 35 by 12.5 inch tires on your truck without having to make other modifications. Now the key to the height here are the springs. Now both front and rear, these are what they call progressive coil springs, meaning they effectively have two different spring rates baked in. Towards the bottom, they have what Skyjacker calls the first flex rate. It allows for increased articulation and a more comfortable ride, and so you've got these larger spaces here. A wider spacing of those coils allows for full droop and compression out on the trails, making it easier for you to climb over obstacles should you encounter them. And even at full droop, the coils are going to be large enough that they will stay seated in their mounts. Now once the springs are compressed, however, you get to the second rate, which is up here, these tighter coils. So this is going to be a little bit stiffer, and it's going to allow for more stability due to that higher spring rate. And the second rate here is designed for higher payloads as well as impact absorption and cornering forces at higher speed. So if you're hauling or towing with your Gladiator, or even if you're just carving up a windy 2-lane country road, you're going to be able to appreciate this a little bit more. Now backing up, the coil springs here are a set of Skyjacker's Black Max shocks. And these are a twin tube shock with a huge body for increased fluid capacity. These feature a multi-stage valving setup and foam cell technology inside. So when the shock is working hard and the fluid inside gets hot, that insert is going to compress to compensate for the oil expansion. So these are going to maintain consistent performance no matter the situation, even if you're hitting a ton of bumps right in a row. Now that foam cell inside also eliminates air from the inside of the shock, so you can mount these inverted if you so choose, which is something that's kind of cool to see. Also included in the kit are a set of extended sway bar links and some spacers here to help you compensate for that additional height. Now this is a pretty complete kit. It's going to get you the height that you're looking for, but it's also going to have the on and off-road chops to back it up. Now all of this will provide you with extra capability out on the trail while still maintaining a good ride and your payload capacity out on the street. The springs are made from 5160H chromium alloy, and these are shot peened for higher tensile strength and a longer life. Skyjacker also pre-compresses the shocks to help them settle in and help prevent against fatigue or sag in the long run. Those shocks again also feature that huge body with a chrome-plated piston shaft and sintered iron piston, plus 360-degree arc welded end mounts down here. So you can see they're about as strong as they can possibly be. And you get all new bushings in your shocks and in your sway bar end links as well. And your spacers here are a composite type material. So these are going to be strong, they're going to be lightweight. Everything here is just really nice. It looks good coming out of the box. It feels nice, and you can tell that it's a pretty quality setup. Pricing comes in at just about $700, and that makes this actually one of the least expensive lifts that you can get that includes both shocks and springs. Now, as you've no doubt gathered by now, this is again a pretty complete kit. It's going to get you the height you want without much sacrifice. And for what you're paying for it, I really think this is a good value for your money. So if you're looking for that extra height and you don't really want to sacrifice too much or anything for that matter, this is going to be a good one to look at. Installation is going to get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter and should take you about 4 hours to complete. Now this is a totally bolt-on kit, doesn't require you to make any modifications, so it's certainly something you can accomplish at home in your driveway or garage. Just gonna take you a little bit of time. And to show you exactly what's involved, let's head out to the shop right now.
The tools you're gonna need for this install include a 3/8 impact, an 18mm ratcheting wrench, a 13/16 wrench, a 19, 18, 15, and 13mm wrench, needle nose pliers, diagonal cutters, a 1/2-inch impact, a 6mm Allen key, a 7/32 Allen key, a 15, 16, 18, 19, and 21mm swivel socket, a 19mm impact socket, a 3/8 ratchet, a pry bar, some spray lubricant, included zip ties, a rubber mallet, a spring compressor, and pull jacks. What's up guys? Today we're going to be installing a lift kit on our Gladiator, so let's get started. All right guys, so moving up to the front, first we're going to uninstall our sway bar end link. So we're going to grab an 18mm ratcheting wrench and a regular 18mm wrench, and we're going to remove this top nut. And we can slide out our bolt. All right, so it's pretty much going to be the same for the rear. We're going to grab that 18mm ratcheting wrench, slide over our 6mm Allen key. Now we're going to loosen this up. And we can remove our Allen key and our ratcheting wrench. We can unscrew this by hand. Now our sway bar end link is removed. It is not quite the exact same for the other side. The bottom has a flag nut, so you don't need to do that process. Now we're going to move over to our shock. We're going to grab an 18mm swivel socket and an 18mm wrench, and we're going to remove this bolt and nut. I'm going to unscrew that nut. And now is the time to grab your pull jacks and suspend your axle so we don't put any stress on that top bolt. So now we can lift this up a little or lower it down to get this bolt out. Or if not, you just grab that socket again. There we go. So now moving up to our top, we're going to grab that 18mm swivel socket and remove our bolt. Make sure you hold your shock. Now we can remove our shock. All right guys, so before we lower down our pull jacks, we're gonna remove our brake line bracket just so we don't pinch this or put any extra stress on it. So it's gonna be a 15mm swivel socket to remove our nut. We just pull that out of the stud, set that off to the side. So now we're gonna grab a needle nose pliers and we're gonna remove this breather tube by using this clamp. We're going to press down on that clamp, and while we're holding it, I'm just going to pull that tube off and we can set that off to the side. Now we can remove our four-wheel drive actuator, so we're going to pull out on this white tab. We can press down on that and slide our connector out of place. Then we can rest that off to the side. All right guys, so next step we're going to remove our spring. So we're going to lower our pull jack down as far as we can go to relieve as much tension as possible. Make sure that we have that plastic housing down here, doesn't get stuck with it. All right, so now what we got to do is lift over and remove our spring. We're also going to grab that rubber grommet that's stuck up there and repeat this process for the other side. All right guys, so moving up to the front install, we're going to need to compress our spring to get it into place. So we have our spring compressor here. Going to remove these pins. We're going to put them around the coils. Now we can grab a 19mm socket on an impact, and we're going to start tightening this down. All right, now we can get this onto the vehicle. So now we want to make sure that that rubber grommet is up here and installed. Then we're going to get the first half of our spring in here. And then while we're at this position, we're going to grab the bump stop. We're going to slide that under the coil. We're going to raise that back into there. I'm going to grab my 19mm socket. I'm going to loosen this up slowly. And it'll fall into place. We can remove our pins. And remove our compressor. So now that we have our bump stop in here, we're going to take our included bolt and washer. We're going to snake it through our coil. We're going to put that through the bump stop. We're going to find the hole that's in the mount. And a helpful tip for going down with the nut is you could put a piece of paper in the wrench to hold your nut in place so it doesn't slide out the back. So now I'm going to bring this under, and on the top I'm going to have a 7/32 Allen key. So now we have that threaded on the bottom. Now we can start tightening it up. All right, now that our driver's side bump stop's in, you can repeat this process for the other side. All right, now we can install our front shock. We have our factory bolt here. We're going to slide that up into place. Get that thing lined up. Make sure we push this out of the way. Then we can grab an 18mm swivel socket, and we're going to tighten up this top one. So now for our lower mount, we are going to raise up our pole jacks. Let's get this lined up. Now we want to do this evenly, so I'm going to come over to the other side and do that same thing. Could always fix our boot later. Just keep coming up. Almost there. Now we can slide our bolt through, following with our nut. We'll grab our 18mm swivel socket and our 18mm wrench. We'll tighten this down. Now you can repeat this process for the other side. All right, so now we can install our front sway bar end links. For the top here, we're going to use the bolt and washer that's included in the kit. We're going to slide that through the back side of the sway bar and slide our end link in. Then following with our washer and our nut. Just going to get that hand tight until we get the bottom in. And for the bottom, we're going to be reusing the factory hardware that we took off in the uninstall. I'm going to thread that on. Now we're going to tighten up the top using a 19mm swivel socket and a 19mm wrench. And for the bottom, I'm going to take an 18mm swivel socket and an 18mm wrench. Now you can repeat this process for the other side, except for the bottom part is going to be your flag nut. Now we can reinstall our brake line brackets. So we're going to have that hole go into the stud and following with our nut. Now we can tighten that down with our 15mm swivel socket. Now you can repeat that for the other side. Now we can reattach our breather tube. So we're going to grab our needle nose pliers, press down on that clamp. Just going to slide our tube. There we go. Now we can reinstall our four-wheel drive actuator. So we're going to press this in until we hear a click. And we can press in that white tab. All right, guys, so the first step of the uninstall, we're going to remove our breather tube clamp. So that way when we lower down our diff, we don't put tension on this. So we're going to grab a needle nose pliers, press in on our clamp. Just going to lift that up here. Now we're just going to wiggle this around. Now we can tackle our sway bar end links. So now we're going to grab an 18mm swivel socket and we're going to remove our top bolt of our sway bar end link. Now we can twist this off to the side, thread our bolt back in. Now we can remove our lower nut. For our lower nut, we're going to grab an 18mm ratcheting wrench and a 6mm Allen key. We're going to put our wrench over first. And we're going to slide our Allen key into the bolt. Now we can loosen this up. Now we can remove our sway bar end link. So now we're going to be removing our shock. We're going to focus on the bottom first. We're going to grab a 21mm swivel socket and a 13/16 wrench. And also now would be a good time to throw some pull jacks on to suspend our diff. Now for our top, it's going to be those same tools. And remove our nut, slide our bolt out. Now you can repeat the steps for the other side. Next, we're going to remove our spring. So we're going to lower down that pull jack until you can't go any farther. It's going to ease up the tension on the spring. Then we can grab a pry bar. We're going to pry on the bottom of our spring to get it over this hump. Want to make sure that that rubber grommet up there comes with it, because we're going to be reusing this on our new spring. All right, guys, so now we can install our rear spring. We're going to make sure that we have our factory rubber grommet. We're going to make sure that the end of the coil lines up with the end of the rubber grommet, which is the perch. So now we're going to get that up onto the top mount. Then we can grab a pry bar. I'm just going to pry up. Might be easier to come from the other side. Might have to play around with it to get it into a good spot. Just gonna grab onto the bottom there. Give it a little push. Now our coil is in place. You can repeat this process for the other side. All right guys, so before we get our shocks mounted up, we got to do a couple things. We have to install our bushings that are press-ins. We have the boots on the cover and the stickers. So what I did was I grabbed some penetrating oil or lubricant and I spread that around the bushing and on the inside. I just have that started in there. You're gonna grab a rubber mallet and start tapping at this until it fits into place. There we go, we got it started. All right, now this is in place. You repeat that process for the bottom part of this shock and for the remaining shocks. Now while we're on the topic of the press fittings, we could do the same for the sway bar end links, except for these ones, they came separated. So all we gotta do is slide those in, grab that lubricant, spread that around, same for the inside. And make sure we have that in there. Grab our rubber mallet. Give it a solid hit. Just gotta give it a little bit more. Give it a couple taps. There we go. Now we can flip it over and do that same process. Slide these in. Spray it down. Give it a little more in there. Now we get hit. Hit around the sides to get this even. There we go. Now you can repeat this process for the other rear sway bar end link. So now that we have those fittings on there, we can grab our boot. We're gonna slide that over like so. We're gonna bring this end up to here. Then we can grab the included zip tie. We're gonna zip tie this down. You can grab a pair of diagonal cutters, cut off the excess. Then we can grab our sticker, peel that off. And we can apply this to our shock. So now you can repeat this process for the remaining shocks. All right, so now we can install our new shocks. So we're gonna get that between the mount, slide in our bolt, thread in our nut on the back. We're just gonna leave that hand tight until we get that mounted up on the bottom. So now what we could do is we could pull down on our shock. Then we could grab our pull jack and raise that up until we have it lined up. Then we can grab our factory bolt. There we go, and then we can thread our nut on. Then we can tighten this down with a 21mm swivel socket and a 13/16 wrench. Now we can go back up to our top mount and tighten that up. So that's going to be the same tools as the bottom. Now you can repeat these steps for the other side. All right guys, moving on to the sway bar end link. We're going to first reuse the factory bolt for the top mount. Going to thread that in there. And for the bottom one, we're going to use the included hardware in the kit. So we're going to have our bolt and washer, and we're going to slide that through the back. And here, we can slide on our washer and our nut. For the bottom, we can grab a 19mm swivel socket and a 19mm wrench, and we're going to tighten this down. Then we can swap out sockets to an 18mm. We're going to tighten this down. Now you can repeat this process for the other side. So now that we have everything installed for the rear, we could reinstall our breather tube. So we're going to press this down on the nipple. Then we can grab our needle nose pliers, press down on that clamp, slide that back down, and now your rear install is complete. So that's going to wrap up the review and install on our Skyjacker 2.5-inch dual rate long travel suspension lift kit with 1.5-inch rear coil springs and Black Max shocks for your 20 to 23 Jeep Gladiator JT, excluding Launch Edition, Mojave, and Rubicon. Thanks for watching, and for all things Gladiator, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.